Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Sounds Oceanica. First of all, I would like to wish you all very happy holidays, and I hope you had a wonderful Christmas, and I wish you the best for this upcoming new year. In today's video, we are going to program drums for our rock ballad. I'm going to show you some new techniques and new methods that I'm using that I've learned in the past few months. Coming up next. Okay, so if this is the first time you are visiting this channel, what we do here is pretty much talk about music production in general terms. So if you are a self-producing artist, if you are an inspiring producer or engineer, this channel is for you. Here we share with you tips and tools to help you make better songs. What we're doing right now is document the production process of a rock ballad. We are currently at the songwriting stage. You can go ahead and click on the link that's above here, and it will take you to the first video of this series if you haven't seen it yet. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notifications so that YouTube lets you know every time we have new content on this channel. And now, without further ado, let's jump into Pro Tools and start programming some drums. Okay, so we're back in our session, and what I'm going to show you guys is the drums that I have programmed. So if you want to check out the detail and how I place each and every single little dot here in this program drums, you can go ahead and click on the link that's above here. It will take you to the programming drums video in the first series of how to make a rock song, and I go into much more detail of how I do program drums. What I'm gonna show you this time is just the changes that I did to what I had programmed already and the reason why, and I will give you a couple of new tips and techniques that I've learned and I'm applying here. So the first thing that I wanted to tell you is that when it comes to programming drums, if you know how to play drums, it's much better. If you don't, it would be good for you to try to learn or study and analyze how drummers play. And you can even just listen to your favorite songs and imagine or try to play like in the air. That's fine. But the idea is that or the purpose with that exercise is that you get a sense of how a drummer plays, because you will need to replicate that here when you're programming drums. And to give you an example, what that's going to be good for you is that you will avoid programming something that sounds unreal. So for example, let's say that a drummer can only play I would say 4 hits at the same time. They can play one hit, 2 of them with their feet. One could be a kick drum and the hi-hat, or a double kick drum. And with your hands or with their hands, they can only play, let's say, 2 crashes or a crash and a snare. But they're not able, for example, to play at the same time 2 snares and a crash, because they would need 3 arms. So that's the sort of stuff that is good for you to think about when you're programming drums. And if you play drums, or if you analyze and study how they play, you will see that there are certain limitations that you need to consider when programming drums. So that's the first tip that I want to give you. And if you consider that, and if you analyze drums like that, and if you program drums like that, they will sound more natural. And this is the tip that I wanted to give you that's going to help you make better songs. Now, the second thing is that this is a Pro Tools tip, but the idea is that you are able in Pro Tools to randomize the intensity, the strength of a hit. So if you are a human drummer, it's not going to be able to hit the snare drum, let's say, with the same strength every single time. And if you program drums like that, they are not going to sound natural. But in Pro Tools, you're able to randomize the velocity of each of these hits. Just hit in the keyboard Alt 3, and it brings up this menu here, and you can change different settings of the MIDI hits here, and you go to change velocity, and there's a functionality here that allows you to randomize the velocity, or let's say the intensity of each hit between a range. So for example, I have a range here of 110 and 115, and what this is going to do is that it's going to randomize the intensity of the velocity of the hits that I select between these values, and they're not always going to be the same. So I did that, for example, with this hit right here, which is the rim shot. It is the rim of the this one right here. So it is randomized between 110 and 115, as you see. So the velocity is not always going to be the same, and that is closer to what is, what a real drummer would do. They will certainly try to hit it as hard as they can, but it's not always going to be with the same strength or intensity. So that's a second tip. And if you apply that to your programming, that's going to help you make better songs. Also, know or try to know which are the velocities or the intensity of each hit that will give you the sweet spot of the sample you are programming. So for example, for drums, particularly for the snare, I program my snares between 120 and 127. What would be the unit for that? Units of velocity, so to speak. And I keep also the toms pretty high, between let's say 124 and 127, and the crashes and high and splashes and all of those between 125 and 127, which pretty much all the way up. But I'm sure that that is going to differ depending on the software you're using. So try to find that out and use those ranges and randomize the hits, and that's gonna help you program better drums. Also, don't forget, I don't have any like fast drums or fills here, but you should be aware that the intensity of each hits of the hits in a drum fill are going to change. Usually the first ones are the drummers hitting harder, and probably the last one if it is a long one. So keep that in mind. You can analyze how drums play that. Listen to your favorite songs or even recordings of soul drums that you can find online. Now, that was the first thing that I wanted to mention, and I'm sure those will help you. Now, for this particular song, I had a very rough percussion that was pretty much a base for me to record the other instruments, and I was copying and pasting different sections if they were repeated. So what I wanted to do was to pretty much just look at the drums and arrange the drums so that they don't sound repetitive. And that's pretty much what I did, and it's what I'm going to show you. So the first change that I have is here. So just this fill right here. Before the first pre-chorus, I changed it because it was copied and it was repeated from all the way throughout the song, and I added a tom hit instead of a snare hit because it is coming to a less intense section, and I think it gives it a little bit more sort of like an ending vibe to this particular fill here. Decreases the intention, the intensity of the previous section into this lower intense section as well. Okay, then I continued like this, and then we are coming from a pre-chorus that is less intense to the chorus, which is more intense. So I also changed this fill here because it was repeated. It was copied from a previous section. I did something different here. Let's take a listen. You will see a pattern. I don't know why. This is something that I heard a long time ago. But let's say that I have a pattern that if you're going to a more intense section, the fill is using a little bit more of a snare sound, and if you're going out from an intense section to a less intense section, I'm using toms in that field, sort of like to decrease the intensity of the song. So and I've been using this for a long time. So you will see this pattern here, and I'm using the snare drum here to come to the chorus. Then another change that I did here is I increased the volume of all of the chinas because they were getting lost a little bit. I changed a fill in the chorus so that it is not going to be the same that I've been using in other sections of the song, and I just added a third snare here. Pretty simple change there. Then the exit fill of the chorus as well, I did change it. As I was mentioning, I changed it from snares to toms because we are coming into a less intense section of the song, which is the connector between the chorus and the second verse. Then the next one that I have is same fill as with the first pre-chorus. This is the second pre-chorus, and it is coming into it with a tom hit here to decrease the intensity. Same fill for the pre-chorus, which is going to be more intense. And keeps the consistency here of this, just to announce that the chorus is coming. And that one is here. Then the same change that I did in the first chorus, I also did it here in the second chorus. The additional snare hit here. And then okay, here I'm going to a more intense section, I would say, but I decided to use toms instead of snares. Yeah, maybe I wanted to, I felt that the contrast was going to be pretty nice, and I wanted also to do a different fill here. So that's the reason why, just to make something different. Here in the middle of the bridge, I'm using, I changed the fill so that it wasn't the same, but I was using the previous round. The three snares here. That one is also being used here. Just to define the difference between each round of the bridge. Okay, so we are coming now from a very intense bridge, and we're coming into a drop, which is the third chorus or the final chorus. And so, with I was talking about that maybe pattern that I like to use, and I'm using toms here just to reduce the intensity and have a smoother transition into this softer chorus. So here it goes. There's even a space here, as you can tell. Just to have a smoothen the transition. Basically, that's what it is doing, or what I was trying to do. During this final chorus, I had some crashes here in the middle, but I deleted them all. They're just not doing anything. So it just sounds with a very simple percussion. Also, I changed this fill, and since we are transitioning into a more intense section, which is the outro, I used the snares. So here it goes. This is a short section. I didn't make any changes to what I had. I did change the last and final drum fill, and since it is the end of the song, I also wanted it to be, sort of like to have like an ending feel to it. And this is what I have here. I use toms, and it sounds like this. And it's also previously, before, it was the same one for the, the same that I was using all over the song. So it is also different, of course. That's it. So those were the changes, and every change has a purpose, and I hope that you see that and you use that and think about that when you're programming your own drums, and I'm sure that's going to help you make better songs again. And I would say the drums are programmed and ready to be exported as single files, which is the way I do it for the mixing stage. So yeah, we would have them ready to be exported now. Okay, so the drums of our song are pretty much ready. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about the process that I followed, about the method that I use. As always, I'm very interested in learning from your ideas. If you guys were able to learn something or take something out from this video, please don't forget to hit that like button. That way you will be supporting this channel and we can continue making content. Now in the next video, we will continue with the recording process of our song. We will record the bass. This is the order that I like to follow. So stay tuned to the channel. Don't miss it out. And I will see you guys in the next episode.